Hey gang, Private Jack here. Okay, so in Source FilmMaker, we've gone and we've rendered a couple of videos and we're finding that they're not usable. We've tried to render AVIs, the images are out of sync, the vocals are out of sync, it stutters all over the place and it looks horrible. We've rendered MP4s only to find that after 36 hours of rendering that the video is too dark and can't be used, or the process broke down somewhere in the rendering and we've wasted 36 hours. We've gone to the discussion group. We've said, what can we do about that? And the answer is usually, instead of trying to render a video, render image sequence, an image sequence as your movie. And what an image sequence is a series of pictures that represent each frame of an actual video. So if I just scroll down here quickly, this is an image sequence of a engineer, and if you watch quickly one of the rows, you can see that the engineer is moving around. Also at the same time, what it's going to do is it's going to produce a WAV file of the audio that is in that actual video. Now, there's a couple of other programs out there that you can use to piece these things together and make MP4 videos or AVI type videos out of. I use Blender myself. I can produce practically any type of video I want out of that. I can do MP4s, I can do AVIs, I can do DIVX, whatever. And the other program, and the one that we're going to concentrate on here, is called VirtualDub. Now, VirtualDub in its native format can only render AVI video. And the problem with AVI video is that if you don't have the proper audio codec and the proper video codec combined together, it can create a bad file, such as this was done with VirtualDub. I didn't have the right combination of codec together to actually produce a good video. The other thing is that when you try to upload video to YouTube, it can either choke out or take extremely long time to upload. The best format to upload to YouTube is MP4. And believe it or not, I'm going to show you in this video how to actually create an MP4 video using VirtualDub instead of just AVI. So let's get started. VirtualDub. There's two different formats of VirtualDub. You can go to the virtualdub.org site and download the plain Jane, no filters, no codec, zip file, and install it anywhere on your computer and use that. Or you can go and find another one that is an actual Windows installer that will install VirtualDub 32 and 64-bit flavors. It'll install extra codec, audio codec, and video codec for, what was it? MKV, AVI, you name it. You can actually bring all that type of video into VirtualDub and convert it. Get into that later. What we're going to do now is we're just going to download the plain Jane one because I don't use it that often and I don't want to go on forever here. So I'm going to go to virtualdub.org. I'm going to click on the download link. I'm going to go to SourceForge now, and I'm going to grab the 32-bit version of VirtualDub. And the reason why I'm grabbing the 32-bit version is simply due to the fact that not a lot of the actual filters have been converted to 64-bit yet. Now, after a couple of seconds, you're going to get the pop-up here saying download. I'm going to click yes. I'm going to save it as and put it on my desktop. Okay. Now, I said that we could, actually, let's just get VirtualDub working here. So here it is on my desktop. All I'm going to do is extract it to my desktop. And here it is. This is VirtualDub. This is the plain Jane. This is the link that you want to click to get it going. And I'm going to, let's see, load up that image sequence. As you can see, it already pops up simply due to the fact that I've been here 150 times now trying to do this video. Let's start on the desktop. So I'm going to go to desktop, I'm going to go to Penguin, and if I click the first image in the sequence, VirtualDub, it will load up the entire sequence if the file names are named properly and are sequential. Okay, now that that's loaded, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load an audio file, and I'm going to load the audio from another file because it's a separate WAV file. Here it is here. And in options, I'm going to check and make sure that sync to audio is turned on so that my audio and my video are in sync, time sync together. That's good. From there, I'm going to go into preferences here just to show you a quick little change that you should be doing. Here on the images tab, image sequence default frame rate is set to 10. Change that. Usually Source FilmMaker, if you don't change the frame rate, will export image sequences at 24 frames per second. So I'm going to change that to 24. It's not going to take effect right now simply due to the fact that I haven't saved it and I haven't said okay. I'd have to close down VirtualDub, restart it to get the frame rate to default to 24 now. I'm going to go into the videos tab here now. I'm going to go to frame rate. And see here, it's still set at 10. I'm going to change it here to 24. Now my sync should be proper between the audio and the actual video. Okay, with that done, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into audio options here, and I'm going to change it from direct stream to full processing mode. And from there, I'm going to have a quick look at the compressors that we have. And the compressors right now are limited to what I actually have on the system, okay, on my computer system at this particular moment. If I want to add AAC or AAC3 or MP3 or LAME or anything else, I have to download individual plugins to do that. Okay, I'm not going to do that for this particular version because I don't really need them. I'm going to look here at the conversion, and that particular WAV file is currently set at 44.1 megahertz, and it is set at 16-bit stereo. So there's nothing here that I want to change. I want that to stay the same. So I'm going to say OK to that. In the video, I'm going to have a look at my compressors. And again, I'm limited to only what is installed on the computer and that VirtualDub can find. So if it's not in a path statement, path to other codecs on your computer is not in a path environment setting or that kind of thing, it's not going to show up here. If I want to add MK4, MKV, all the rest of those things, what I have to do is I have to download plugins for those as well. I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to say I don't want uncompressed. I'm going to switch it here right now to Cinepack Codec. Configure, compressed color, that's good. Quality is at 100%, which is good. And I'm going to say OK. What I'm going to do is do a quick render here. Everything else is good here. This is all good now. That's been done. Now, if I come in here to File, the only export option I have right now is Save to AVI. There's nothing else that's available. I could save another image sequence, but I've already got one. I don't want to do an Adobe film strip, and I don't want to produce raw audio or video, and I definitely don't want to produce a 20-second animated GIF. I've got no external, oops, those aren't supposed to be there. Remove, remove. Remove, 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 remove. Okay. Okay, I don't have any external encoders set up at the present time, and basically this is where we're going to end up going to produce our MP4s. Okay, other than that, that's it. I'm not going to set up any video filters, and what a video filter is changing blur, flipping horizontally, adding color, changing to grayscale, motion blur, and there's a whole ton of other filters out there that I'll get into later. But I'm not going to do any of that right now. I can say OK to that, and I'm going to export an AVI file. And I'm going to call it Penguin 96A. So basically, this is the actual video rendering. It's rendering at about 2.71 frames per second, and there's 559 files. Now I can shrink my screens down here. What I'm seeing here is input to VirtualDub and output from VirtualDub. Where are we at here in the video? So I'm at 52 frames, estimating about 4.5 minutes right now. We've only been 40 seconds into the actual render, and we're only at 66 frames. So as soon as this changes out from the Penguin to the engineer, I'm going to stop it. If it ever does. There it goes. So basically I can see the input, I can see the output. They look like they're in sync together. That doesn't mean anything. And as soon as he starts talking, I'm going to abort the process here. We're rendering at 1.22 frames per second and estimating about 6.5 minutes here. Oh, we got a couple of chords. I think that's good enough. If I abort the process and stop it, it will actually finish writing the what it has processed so far to the AVI file, and I can play that. Looks like it's pretty much in sync. Everything looking good. Okay, so anyway, that's processing an AVI file using proper codec and whatnot else. I remember I showed you, I can't remember if I did show you this or not. This is, that's what happens if you use the wrong codec mix. Okay, so I'm going to exit out of VirtualDub. I'm going to exit out of that. Did some research on the web, found that we can actually add external encoders now to VirtualDub so that I can render MP4 video straight from VirtualDub. I don't have to go from VirtualDub from Source FilmMaker into VirtualDub, create an AVI, take that AVI, take it back into something like Windows FilmMaker or some other program, and then produce my MP4 from there. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go to the web and Control H, Friday. I've been trying to make this video since Friday, and it's Sunday evening at 11:51 now. So encodingtalk.com. This guy named Raffriff rather, came up with a process of actually creating MP4s using external encoders from VirtualDub. And in this article right here, he gives the entire process. It's post number 48 of this particular discussion. He includes files, he includes links to the other files that are required, and a very good explanation of what you actually have to do. He even goes on further on in the discussion explaining how to actually set up other formats, like I can't remember what else he's got in here, but anyway, make a long story short, you can actually use these encoders to do other video formats straight from VirtualDub. So anyway, what I'm going to do is this particular link here, I'm going to click that, I'm going to download it. VDub External Encoders 2 zip. I'm going to save that to my desktop. Now I'm going to go off to these other links and download the stuff that he says to download. First one is off to Nero.com. This is the AAC codec for audio. You have to agree to their statement. You have to provide them with an email address. Uncheck this unless you want to be hounded about tips and tricks and all the rest of that good stuff. I'm going to stop the video while I put in my email address. After I put my email address, I clicked on the download link and it produced this little save as box. I'm going to save that to my desktop. Okay, come back out of here. I'm going to go to the next link. This next link is broken. What it tries to do is go to a mirror site, and the mirror site is broken. So we have to wait for it to actually come up, and then I'm going to show you where you need to go from there. We're going to get a page can't be displayed error here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete everything except HTML : // x264.nl. So we're off to the Netherlands. Okay, we don't want to download the master source. What we want to do is roll down here, go to application binaries, click the here button here, go in, because we're working with VirtualDub 32-bit, we're going to go into the Win32 folder, and this particular file here works with my AMD video card. So that's the one that I'm going to check. This one, and the reason why I'm going to take that is because it's the newest version of the actual file. This one here, which was produced on the same date at the same time, pretty much, it might be for a different brand of card, like the NVIDIA. I don't know. But I tried to use this particular file and my videos came out just black videos. It didn't work. This is the one that worked for me, so that's the one I'm going to take. If you get through the process and actually produce a video and the video stays black, come back and grab the opposite one. So I'm going to grab that one and I'm going to put it on my desktop. Go back to the discussion here. Now I have to download a file called MP4 box. I'm going to go to this site. I'm working with the 32-bit version, so I'm going to take the 32-bit version of MP4 box and save that to my desktop. And this is an installer. safe. I've used it many times trying to do this video, and I haven't had a problem yet. Save it to my desktop. Go back to the sheet here. Next place we're off to is Zorano.com, and what we want is FFmpeg 32-bit. I'm going to grab that and download that to my desktop. And back to the form here. And don't click this one, click this one, Qt Fast Start. It'll take you to the page for the actual binary. Download the Qt Fast Start exe for Windows. Save that to the desktop. And those are all the files that we require so far. I don't want to do that. I just want to, okay, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull it off and put it on the side here. Gather up the stuff that we downloaded, put it here in the order that we downloaded it, because that's the order that we're going to put it into VirtualDub in. And here's VirtualDub. So VirtualDub is already installed. All I did was extract it from the zip file that I download from virtualdub.org. Next one is the file that Rafrift has provided. I'm going to open that file. Now you need something that will open zip files to get in here. So I use WinRAR. Okay, I'm going to open up my VirtualDub folder. And in this WinRAR zip file, I'm going to drill down until I find External Encoders. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to drag it into the root folder of my VirtualDub folder. So I've got, if I go back up one to desktop, what I've got is VirtualDub 1.10.4. Then I've got VirtualDub living here. And here's that External Encoders folder here. I'm going to drill into that now. And I'm going to open up the next file that I downloaded, which was that Nero AAC codec file. I'm going to open that up. I'm going to drill into Win32, and I'm going to pick up these three files. In actual fact, I think the only one I need is the encoder. And I'm going to drag those down and put them in the Nero ACC file that was created when I dropped in that encoder file, that encoder folder. So now they are buried right here. In each of the folders that he has provided here, FFmpeg, there are files already here. What these are links to those websites so that you can actually go back to the websites if you need to re-download the files. So there. This one doesn't work. Again, what you have to do is you have to click this. It tries to go to the mirror, and when you get to the mirror, you have to delete all that address and just add x264.nl, and it'll take you to where you need to go. Anyway, so that's got Nero installed. The next thing we're going to work with is this x264 file that we downloaded. Now it's an exe file, and in the file what you've got is the revision number and the build number in the file name. I'm going to drag that down, I'm going to drop it in x264 and copy it there. Notice I'm leaving copies here so that I can squirrel them away somewhere. Then I'm going to go into the folder and I'm actually going to rename this from its old name to x264.exe. That's done. Next one we're going to install is the MP4 box, and like I told you before, it's an installer. Double click on it. It'll start the installer. agree to the terms, agree to the conditions. Next. And in his little blurb here, what he says about the MP4 box installer is when installing, uncheck all components except MP4 box. Don't know what the other ones are for, they're not needed. So what you're going to do is you're going to uncheck all of these boxes except for MP4 box. Notice how these are all checked. If you just uncheck that one, it unchecks the rest of them. So the only one that's checked here now is the MP4 box. Click Next, and I'm going to install that. I'm going to change the install folder to my desktop, VirtualDub, External Encoders, MP4 box directory. Okay, so it's going to go right in here, install. Now, if you have this stuff already installed on your computer somewhere, squirreled away in your program files and whatnot else, you would actually point, you wouldn't have to do all this, you would just point the bat files to those files and yada, yada, yada. But anyway, well, we'll get into that in a bit. Okay, next one is FFmpeg. I'm going to open up that file. And I'm going to drill down until I find the bin doc license presets, and the rest of that I'm going to select them all and I'm going to drag them and drop them on FFmpeg. So now they are right here. VirtualDub, encoders, FFmpeg, and that. Okay. Go back up to the encoders directory. Last thing that we have to install is Qt's Fast Start. I'm going to open that up, find the Qt Fast Start exe, and I'm going to drop that right on FFmpeg. So it will end up sitting in FFmpeg right there. Okay, that's the files installed. We can close down WinRAR now, or WinZip, whichever you use. And the next portion here, what he says is under the encoder, external encoders, you'll find two VDprof files. We have to import those into VDub, but at the same time, if your executables, the ones that we just installed, are not in default locations, in other words, known by your environmental path, then what we have to do is we have to go in and we actually have to edit the bat files so that the bat files in the process will be able to find the executables or the bat files that they need, the executables rather. So we're going to go back into the VirtualDub folder. We're going to go into external encoders, and all these bat files have to be edited, and I edit them in Notepad++. You can use Notepad, you can use any text editor to edit a bat file. I just prefer to use Notepad++. So this is what he's talking about. I'm going to move this up so that we can see. Looking at X264, the bat file is currently saying set the environment to C VirtualDub. Well, we're not in C VirtualDub. We are in C user, some user, desktop, VirtualDub, external coders, right? So this path has got to be changed to where are you? This bat file lives. Okay, so right here, I'm going to copy and paste, copy, and paste. Sorry, don't have to go that far. All I have to do is go to the encoders because the X234 is correct. Paste. So now I'm pointing at the actual location where the exe actually lives.
See that? So encoder 264. That is the same as that. Kind of hard to prove when it wants to jump around like that. There. See, user, some user, desktop, VirtualDub 1.10.4, external encoders, X264, X264 exe, which is why we had to rename that file name there when we installed it. Okay, we can save that and close it. We have to do the same thing for each of these. Now remember, let's see, the next one we're going to work with is MP4 box. It installed to an extra folder below. So basically what we need to do is we need to take that entire thing there, copy that, and replace that. File save. Come on. And we can close that one down. Coders. FFmpeg is in the bin folder, remember? There it is there. So we need to take that, replace that, and the Qt Fast Start is down one level, but it's still in that same, where are you? FFmpeg, right there. Close that one. Now the Nero file. And finally, we have to go to the next one, which is looking for FFmpeg again, which is in the bin folder. And that's done. Okay, so the bat files have been redone. Now these two encoder VD prof files that he's talking about, they have to be edited as well, but they are easier to edit in VirtualDub than they are to edit the other way, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to go back in there. I'm going to find external encoders. Here are those two files that he's talking about. And what these are the actual calls that are going to call the various programs needed to create the MP4 or a QuickTime MOV type file. So I'm just going to open this one up in Notepad. And basically there's three references here that need to be changed because they're not pointed at the correct bat file, the correct folder for the bat file. There's that one, that one, that one, and that one. And these are easier to actually change up in VirtualDub. So we're just going to close out of that, exit that, close that, and we're going to launch VirtualDub again. Okay, so now what we have to do is we have to import those external encoder files. So we go to Options, External Encoders, Import, and here are those two VD prof files, and we have to import them one at a time. Okay, so these are in here now, but I'm going to click on the Encoders tab, and here's where we have to edit the file. because these command lines are not pointed at the correct folders. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on one, click on edit. We're going to click on the browser, come back here, type in here star.bat, hit enter. We're going to find the bat file that it wants right there and open that. And see how it changed the file name or the file path. Say OK to that. And we have to do that for each of these. Or what you can do is, because most of these are in the same location, you can actually go to the VirtualDub, go into the external editors. There's all the bat files. Click on that, copy, select what you need to change, paste, say OK. But if you screw it up, it's not going to find the file and the process is going to crash on you. That's a bat file. Yep. That's a bat file. That's why it's always better to click on the actual browser and browse to the actual bat file. And the final one is looking for FFmpeg. So let's just go and point to FFmpeg bin FFmpeg, and that's got it. Oh, missed one. That one. There we go. Okay, so they're all pointed at their correct locations now. You have to say OK. If you close it down without saying OK, it won't save to the actual configuration file. Next time you load it and want to use it, you're going to have to do it all over again. Okay, so we are now ready to produce an MP4. So I can exit out of this. I can exit out of this. I'm going to load that image, image sequence. Click on the first image of the sequence to import the sequence. I'm going to go into audio. I'm going to add the audio file. I'm going to go to options and make sure sync to audio is turned on. I'm going to click full processing mode on the audio. Compression, my compressors haven't changed. I'm not worried about it though, because I'm not going to be using these compressors for my video. Okay, I'm going to look at my conversions. Nothing's changed here. There's still 44.1 megahertz. It's 16-bit and it's stereo. I'm okay with that. I don't want to change that. Go in here to my compression frame rate. Remember, I changed my frame rate. I'm now setting it current at 24 frames per minute or per second. I don't have to change that now. Okay. Color depth. I'm going to change my color depth. I'm going to change it to 32. Auto select and 32 output. Okay. I'm going to add a filter. What's a good filter? I wonder if what logo does. I haven't played with this one yet. Oops, don't want to load it. Say OK. Let's emboss it. I know what that one does. Okay. Turn the light source to the top left corner, and I'm going to make it maximum and more rounded. Okay. And I'm going to blend that. Okay, and I'll show you what I'm going to do here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to view the curve editor. I'm going to make my screens 33% so I can see my right here at about 140. Actually, just as he comes into view, should be about right about there. I'm going to add my embossing, Shift plus. Where did I put that? There. Oh, I screwed up something. Okay, this guy doesn't like, what I want to do is I want to pull that down to 0. And about there. That's where I want it. Other way around. Control left mouse button removes a timeline thing. Shift left mouse button adds. So 100%, I did it wrong again. 0% to 100% on 70. And then at about a second, so 194, 94, 2 seconds, 94, 118, 128, sounds about right. Click it again, leave it at 100%, and bring it back to normal. Just like that. Okay, so I've added a filter so that we can see what's going to happen. Let's see, what else do I want to do here? Audio's in full processing mode. Video has been full processing mode. My frame rate is correct. My compressors I'm not worried about because I'm going to be using an external, my audio is in sync. I'm now ready to export using an external encoder. I'm going to make an MP4 and I'm going to save that to my desktop and I'm going to call it test 14. So if I set everything up right, what I'm going to find here is I'm going to find an ACC encoder happening. I'm going to find an H264 encoder happening and the actual video being rendered. And I'm going to pause the video while this renders out. As you can see, we've already got the penguin embossed. I think I went backwards again. Doesn't really matter. You'll see what I'm getting at. There we go. Now I went from embossed to color. And at 120, okay, so we're beyond 125. So we'll have to wait and see. So I'm going to pause this until it renders out. Okay, we're coming into the last 100 or so frames. Let this finish rendering out. Input, output, they look pretty much on sync. Everything's moving. Everything's looking good. No errors in the log. Now comes the actual final moments of the render, and we find out whether or not we've set everything up properly. And complete. So now we do the test of time.
Hey, look, buddy. I'm an engineer. That means I solve problems. Not problems like what is beauty, because that would fall within the purview of your conundrums of philosophy. I solve practical problems.
So everything looks good there. Might have looked like it was a little bit out of sync for you, simply due to the fact that I'm rendering a video while talking to you and rendering this particular tutorial at the same time. So there's going to be a little bit of a lag there. And this is the actual video again that I've done before.
Hey, look, buddy. I'm an engineer. That means I solve problems. Not problems like what is beauty, because that would fall within the purview of your conundrums of philosophy. I solve practical problems.
And that's a sample of it using the various filters. Now, like I said, I was going to talk quickly on filters. If you do a Google search on VirtualDub filters, filter pack, (2014). Oh no, it was Major Geeks I went. Okay, good. Right. Okay, went to Major Geeks, got the newest filter pack, downloaded it from the mirror. There it is. It's again an executable. Save as to the desktop, just so that you can see. As it is right now, my filters are pretty limited. However, with the pack, I'm going to cancel that now. Cancel that. I'm going to save the process setting because I've got a video now that basically I've got animations and whatnot else into, and if I ever want to recreate it, I need to have this VD script, so I'm going to call that Penguin. Save that to the desktop. Gotta add the S because it goes and looks for a folder, or give it a file extension. So there's my VD script. Okay, so now VirtualDub filters, there's the filter pack I just downloaded. I'm going to double click on that. I'm going to run it. And what I would do is I would extract it right into my plugins folder where I have VirtualDub. Browse, desktop, VirtualDub, plugins 32. Okay, I'm going to remove the plugins folder so that that's the install directory. Next, finish, install. There's over 200 filters in this pack that I'm installing. So now, if I go into my filters, I may have to reboot. Nope. Yeah, I am. I'm going to have to reboot to find them. Okay, so I can exit out of that. Restart VirtualDub. Bring in the image, load the script. View, video, filters, add. As you can see, my filter list has grown substantially, and this is where I get the various filters that you saw in that other video that I did. Anyway, that's pretty much VirtualDub rendering image sequences in a box. Long video, sorry for but it's a detailed process. Any questions, leave a note on the page and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. And with that, I'm going to say Private Jack out.